PACE Monitoring Committee approved the decision to restore the authority of the Russian delegation in the Assembly. The debates and the voting on the issue are supposed to take place on late January 29th. The report will be made by Tini Cox, one of the key advocates of Russia's return to PACE. The Dutch MP offers to abstain from placing any sanctions against Russia. He claims that the Russian side managed to provide an exchange of prisoners, including the return of Ukrainian sailors captured near Kerch Strait in 2018, and resumed payments to the budget of the Council of Europe. That, according to him, is worth lifting restrictions against the Russian Federation.
Mr. President, my conclusion, which was supported by the Monitoring Committee, is that in the past 6 months we did not see a serious deterioration with regard to Russia, which would justify not to accept their credentials at this moment. Mr. President, in June, when ratifying the Russian credentials, the Assembly also called upon the Russian Federation to pay all its contributions to the Council of Europe. The Monitoring Committee concludes, on the basis of information of the Committee of Ministers, that this by now has been done. The Monitoring Committee concludes that, related to our earlier decision on the Russian credentials last June, that there are no grounds which would justify to apply Rule 8.2a or 8.2b with regard to the Russian credentials. Therefore, Mr. President, the Monitoring Committee proposes to the Assembly to ratify the credentials of the Russian delegation.
We had a long discussion and we carefully examined some very difficult points, involving also the very delicate distinction between the illegal act of annexation and the anyway acceptable results of an election. These two aspects have been carefully distinguished by the Venice Commission report, and an illegal act of annexation does not imply an election which should not be recognized. So, for delicate and complex these conclusions, maybe they really helped us, and I think they will remain a milestone in helping us in our future assessments. Consider these and many other aspects. All in all, my committee found no reason to find not consistent this report with our rules and procedure, and therefore concludes that the proposal to ratify the credentials of the Russian Federation is in accordance with the Assembly's rules of procedure. Thank you.
Since 2015, there have been numerous reports and judgments from inter alia, the Venice Commission and the European Court of Human Rights addressing the worrying developments in the Polish justice system and the judiciary. The great concerns have been regarding the legal reforms making the judicial system in Poland vulnerable to political interference and easier to bring under political control of the executive.
The Polish government has had a reform, and I would not consider reforms, but deteriorations. The first reforms they did was to merge the person of the Minister of Justice with the Prosecutor General. And that means that the Minister of Justice is not only Minister of Justice, but can also take decisions as Prosecutor General. He can even interfere in individual court decisions.
The independence of the judiciary is therefore vital to democracy, and the independence of the judiciary is indispensable to upholding the rule of law. Because if the judiciary is compromised, if the judiciary is under the control of the executive, the citizens cannot trust them to protect them from the excessive use of power of that same executive.
I have been a great friend of Poland for over 30 years now, and I have spent much of my formative years working with the Poles and working in Poland. And it pains me to see that they have come to a situation where the European Court of Justice is seen as the de facto court for Poland rather than their own courts.
Taking the floor today does not make me happy, neither proud. Contrary, it makes me feel ashamed. But something much more important is at stake: the common legal space in Europe, a space for human rights and freedoms. And this space is dramatically shrinking. We need to remember, there are no human rights without their effective judicial protection. That is why I urge the Assembly to support the resolution and to call Polish authorities to restore the independence of democratic institutions.